It's me at CGB. Hey you, it's CovertGoBlue, and today we are talking about Faerie Mastermind, a new card coming from March of the Machines to Magic the Gathering Arena and Paper Magic in mid-April. This was previewed at the big MagicCon Philly event, and if it looks like a specific face or something is going on with that card, that's because it is. Because we should know that face as Magic fans. This is Faerie Mastermind. It's 1 in a blue for a creature fairy rogue. At rare, it's a 2/1 with flash, has flying, and whenever an opponent draws their second card each turn, you draw a card. Then there is an open activated ability, 3 in a blue. Each player draws a card. And that is Yuta Takahashi, the world champion, the 27th world champion of Magic the Gathering, if my ability to do the Roman numeral thing is adequate. And yeah, Yuta is a very, very, very skilled player known for playing fairies, and it looks like he's certainly had some words, a say in the design of his card. Congratulations again to him on being the world champion, following in the tradition that was rekindled with Elite Spellbinder featuring Paulo Vitor Damata Rosa, the world champion, that the champion of Magic gets to be immortalized on a Magic card. This tradition goes way back. It took a hiatus for a while, but if you look back at some very old cards like Shadow Mage Infiltrator, that's Johnny Magic, John Finkel on a Magic card. This is the first one I remember. I'm not saying it was the first one. It's the first one I remember. And I remember thinking how absolutely cool it would be to be a human wizard that drew cards and struck fear into adversaries, as John Finkel very much did. And then, a lot of people don't know this, but Solemn Simulacrum is actually originally an invitational card. Can you name that face? It is Jens Thorin. And as you see, yeah, a lot of people actually didn't know that the original Boomer art of the Solemn Simulacrum is based on Invitational winner. And there are other cards throughout history, I believe. Avalanche Riders is one of them. Maybe you could name some more in the comments if you love sharing this interesting information. So Yuta Takahashi gets to be a Faerie Mastermind, and that's because Yuta's been playing Fairy-based decks across all kinds of formats for a very long time. Probably back when it was in Standard. I don't remember for sure. I wasn't watching Magic at the time. But I found this Grand Prix list from 2018 from Modern, where you see he's probably the only person left in the room playing Bitter Blossom, Cryptic Command, Inquisition of Kozilek, Spell Stutter Strike. You know, doing very much the thing that he did in Standard long ago. So he has a deep love for the archetype, so becoming the Faerie Mastermind makes a lot of sense. So that's a little bit of the flavor behind the card and how to get your face on a card. Just be the champion of the world, no big deal. But is the card good? Where will it see play? Let's talk about it in the three formats, for me at least, the three formats: Standard, Historic, Brawl, and Commander. Is this a Standard card, and what decks would it fit in? My first thought is that this would go very well in Raffine. Raffine is, of course, always looking for evasive, cheap bodies, and I really did try Faerie, what is it? It's Faerie Vandal. I tried that card with Raffine a lot, and that card grew very quickly and was a decent threat, but it didn't have any built-in card advantage, and you kind of need that these days when you look at things like Underdog, Denick, even the frickin' Raven Man. They produce a form of card advantage. Faerie Mastermind offers that if the opponent is going to draw any extra cards at all, and there is kind of a mana sink ability that I don't think will ever get used in the Standard context. So is this good enough for Raffine? It's good, like against a Raffine, you'll always get your trigger when the opponent has the Raffine going, but that's not good for you. And yeah, I don't know. It's also interesting that it is draw a card, not may draw a card. I like the templating of draw a card. I hate the idea of may draw a card, but it does mean the opponent, if they have a Sheldred going, is going to hurt you more. Still, I want to try Mastermind and Raffine. I think that's the most natural home. Some people will say mono blue, pair it with Haughty Djinn, beat the opponent down, counter some spells. We'll see, because Faerie Mastermind isn't that tremendously different in a deck like Mono Blue from Spectral Adversary. Spectral Adversary doesn't make the cut. It's not nearly good enough. I believe firmly that Faerie Mastermind is a better card than Spectral Adversary because of the potential for card advantage and because of the other open-ended ability that can draw cards in a pinch, a mana sink ability. But is it that much better the Spectral Adversary that it makes it into mono blue, I'm skeptical. I am not convinced that we're going to see the Haughty Jin and the Faerie Mastermind hanging out as friends. Another fun thing you can do in standard with it, Lauren of the Third Path, you and target opponent each draw a card. You use that on their turn, it's their second card, then you draw a card again from the Faerie Mastermind. That doesn't seem bad at all. And maybe there's a blue-white version of the deck that wants to get more creatures on the board. At the end of the day though, flying 2/1s aren't quite making it. But so call me cynical unless we get a lot more support for the Flash archetype in standard. I am not sure that we can go 2-mana 2/1 Flash on turn 2 and have it be strong enough in a format full of Denix and underdogs and a million 1-mana red creatures that are just trying to hit your face. So Faerie Mastermind, I'm skeptical of. I could see this having a home in standard, but I'm not positive that it will. Like, this is one where I could go either way, and I wouldn't be surprised if it saw no play, and I wouldn't be surprised if it saw a lot of play. I'll try to make it work. I'm going to play the card. I think it's sweet. In Historic Brawl, there's a number of tempo type decks. Grozlex comes to mind. Rafine, once again, comes to mind that really need another sweet Flash 2/1 with potential card draw built in. Drawing extra cards is a huge staple of Historic Brawl in general, so I think it will see fringe play in a handful of decks. But I kind of wish it was legendary, so it could be its own commander. However, I get it. Anyway, Commander, is this where the card is made for? Which is kind of surprising, because you would think that you have a standard modern, a constructed specialist, a Pro Tour veteran, a Yuta Takahashi, the world frickin' champion of Magic. You would think that this would be a standard card 100,000,000% of the time, and I'm skeptical of it in standard, but I think this is a slam dunk Commander card. This is an amazing Commander card. If you play in the kind of Commander games that I play in, it's all about drawing cards and ramping and drawing cards. If it ramps and draws cards, it's an amazing card. If it ramps or draws cards, it's a good card. This pays you off for everybody else drawing, and if everybody else is getting those draws, then you are getting a ton of draws. Think about the power of Ledger Shredder in Commander, this card that came out last year, just casting 2 spells a turn, getting you these connives. I mean, usually one of those spells is doing something for card advantage. Now, you could force it in a group huggy type method with a card like Howling Mine. Everybody will love drawing their extra cards while you draw extra cards with Faerie Mastermind. And some people might enjoy building decks like this. A lot of group hug deck players are going to want Faerie Mastermind in their deck, 100% hands down. But I think that in Commander, in most pods, every pod that I've been a part of, this is just a card you play, because plenty of times you're going to get those draws off your opponent, and much like Mystic Remora, much like the Rhystic Study, Esper Sentinel, the best card draw cards in the format, this is passive draw. Like, you just put it out there, it's passive card advantage. You chill, other people spend their mana, other people spend their time and their turn on getting cards, and you get a little something from their action. Like, that's the best way to draw cards in Commander. This card does it beautifully. Commander staple. So right there, it's probably going to have a good price tag, and you're going to see plenty of it. I'm a big fan of Faerie Mastermind. Let me know what you think in the comments, and congrats one more time to Yuta Takahashi, the world champion. You are now immortalized as Faerie Mastermind. Thank you for watching this video. As always, I will see you in the next video. You are cool.